I'm just curious, what are some of the largest upcoming developments you're excited for Injective, and what do you want to see in 1, 2, 3, 4 years in DeFi or derivatives? You can take one of those, both of those. Doesn't really matter to me.
I mean, in the short term, there's a Chihuahua and also Stack's proposal on the governance forum. And that was actually very, very exciting for me because those two are kind of my degen stacks. And also, I think generally in the midterm, I would say like this quarter, this quarter and the next as well is CosmWasm deployment and all the applications that are CosmWasm based that are going to be building on Injective and launching on Injective. A lot of the work with Injective Labs and also overall with the foundation as well has been getting all these projects to build on top of the CosmWasm layer, creating a completely a really diverse offering for all of these applications, beyond just exchange, beyond just DeFi, maybe some metaverse plays as well. It's really sky's the limit. And I think within the 2, 3, or 10 years, DeFi is going to be the financial underpinning for overall global financial infrastructure. So let's say if someone wants to trade like a gold commodity or like a gold futures or some sort of treasury futures or some sort of bond futures, it's all going to go through like a decentralized infrastructure just because how efficient this a cross-border and a cross-national payment infrastructure is with crypto's help.
Yeah, that's very well put. I also think it's just exciting to see what's going to be coming out of Injective as the Cosmos ecosystem starts to develop, and just see how much infrastructure you guys can really provide in the innovation. So great to hear that. We're going to jump over to Spin next. And I know Eric set the stage for DeFi being the underpinning of all of finance in the future. I would now take this question and spin it a little bit. What do you guys think needs to be done in the next year or so to start getting towards this idea that, okay, decentralized finance is the go-to place if you want to interact with markets? And then also just what are you guys excited for at Spin?
So, well, I mean, said this multiple times. I think that retail guys are kind of heavy mobile users. So having kind of the right mobile product market fit is crucial. We all know, for example, that there are tons of traders in Asia that are using mobile heavily to trade, or that are using mobile heavily to kind of access any other DeFi products. So the evolution of the DeFi applications on the mobile, in terms of mobile interfaces, I think is crucial. We've seen that in the traditional finance. I'm a firm believer that these kind of big waves they will be similar in the DeFi space as well. In the long run, I think there will be kind of this vision for the boxed derivatives-based products, so like basis trading protocols, etc. So they will probably evolve heavily in the upcoming years. And well, I mean, if they're user friendly enough and well explained to the retail user, there will be more and more TVL there. So I think it's cool to be part of the kind of like an infrastructure layer as well, so that the DEXs being built will be used by these apps as infrastructure layers to create their products. So something like that.
Yeah, and I really like the parallels you pulled there with mobile apps and retails. I mean, we've seen an explosion of people starting to participate in markets, and the go-to thing is a lot of people, especially here in the States, have a Robinhood app. So having something that's intuitive for the easy to use mobile definitely sounds like it's on the right track and gets me excited. It's reducing that friction that we currently see in DeFi. Rhea, you want to build on this a bit as well?
In my opinion, by the way, it's actually also about gamification, because more and more projects now go on gamification and start using some methods to onboard users by means of incentivizing them, providing them with some extra features, helping them to earn some tokens or some bonuses or whatever. So something similar to what you have in some online games. So if you are a user of, for example, PS4, you know how gamification works there. And now we see that in centralized finances and in traditional finances, and I believe that it will also come to DeFi, and it's actually already coming. So I think that it is actually one of the things that will come to the industry in the near future.
Yeah, that's an amazing point. That was actually something that I thought was really notable about Spin that you guys are trying to do. And I think gamification is proven. People want to have their avatars, they want to feel their own personal customization and also have ownership of these things. So it's great. Barrett, we'll jump over to you. Thoughts on what's exciting for Cypher? I know you guys are building, there's a lot coming there. And then what do you think needs to be done in DeFi to really start getting more towards the masses?
Yeah, great question. I think some of the like exciting things for Cypher is I think we have a pretty awesome announcement finally from our team regarding our DevNet coming up this week, which will be super exciting. Now, in relation to like what does DeFi need to address the masses, I think there's a couple of key points here, right? I think liquidity is one. I think crypto in general kind of suffers from this. I mean, if like it's big relative to what it was, 5 years ago, right? But if you compare it to like traditional like finance markets, right, it's still very illiquid, right? Like you can't have like a hedge fund come in and place a multi-$100 million order and not just completely move the markets, right? And I think that with more adoption comes at additional liquidity. New protocols are coming out building more price discovery vehicles, whether they're dated futures, whether that's perps or options, everlasting options like O1, right? I think that more price discovery tools will incentivize more institutional buy-in, right? And then there comes a lot of liquidity with that. I think Spin has touched on this quite a bit during this conversation, and that's getting good mobile experiences up. There's like one point, and I'll probably mess this up. I think it's like 1 couple billion people in India, right? And the vast majority of those people don't have computers, right? They have smartphones. And so, like getting them a good mobile experience is, a really easy way to onboard quite a bit of people to markets, right? And that really will ramp up the liquidity in DeFi and in crypto in general. And I think that, we've been talking, like crypto's been talking about this for like a very long time, in relative, I guess, sense, right? In how is like the on-ramps, right? Like it's still not like super intuitive or easy for the layman. Like if I walk down the street here and I go, hey, like, can you send me money via like Phantom? They go, what? I don't even know, right? And so like they're like, well, okay, like tell me what that is, right? And then like they're like, okay, how do I get my money from my bank account to a decentralized wallet, like a non-custodial wallet? I think that those steps can be made easier, and I know that there's a number of projects out there working to make those steps easier, and I think that that would be like a pretty big and important one. For DeFi to really gain like mass popularity, and that is just making the process from getting their money from a bank account to one of these decentralized like platforms for trading, buying NFTs, etc. Easier, right? And I think that's like a big one.
Yeah, definitely on reducing that friction. Something I noticed, I was trying to onboard my brother into crypto, and he's just frustrated with all this friction. And then we get to this point where more recently I start trying to offboard some of his stuff from crypto back to fiat. And there's so much less friction in crypto once you're in the ecosystem compared to traditional. It's just getting from traditional into this Web3 ecosystem. So I think that was very well put. Ryu, I think what we can be excited for is power perps, potentially everlasting options. You want to touch on anything if I missed that and then start to tie this up for us?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think everyone brought up some really awesome points. I think like, on the topic of friction, with regards to UX and regards to onboarding new people, I think there really are two types of frictions, right? So the first one, that Barry was talking about is sort of the, that like onboarding or like on ramping to crypto type friction, for web 2 to web 3 people, and then there's the other friction that we as DeFi builders encounter, is like, how do you make like these like DeFi derivatives like simpler for people to understand, right? And I think like, to touch base more on this second layer of friction, I think that's sort of one of the big reasons we're super excited about power perps, and you mentioned everlastings, because they take very like complex uh, functions, that you would get by composing different types of financial instruments and package them into one simple thing that you can trade, right? And so that's sort of how I like to think about power perps and Evers. But yeah, so like powers are I would say like a lot easier to understand than like your regular option, right? Because you don't need to think about the strike, the expiry, and all that fun stuff. And so it's a lot more it's easier to grasp, but with that ease of understanding it also comes a payout function that's very similar to what you would get with a regular option. And so in some ways, you're getting kind of the best of both worlds. But of course, it's not exactly one to one as an option, right? But we need to make compromises here and there. And so yeah, and so I think like really like the two most exciting fronts, with regards to DeFi in the next few months is really like, one, like how do you tackle this like on ramping problem for like Web3 to Web2 people, or rather Web2 to Web3, and then how do you tackle this second layer of difficulty, which is how do you explain like farming and derivatives and these complex structures, and how do you get people to be more familiar with these complex strategies, right? And I guess like the last part, that I forgot to mention here is like also really like excited about all these like structured product stuff, right? I think like, especially with powers and Evers, there's this potential to bring a lot of these automated strategies, whether that's like shorting volatility or selling more complex strategies, in a way where users can just stake and earn, right? And so being able to provide the primitive blocks with regards to like perpetual futures, powers, and Evers, for people to be able to like compose on top of that is super exciting for us.